Hey everybody, this is Allison from This Enchanted Hour, and today I wanted to share a math resource for you for your creative, out-of-the-box thinkers. So this is Math-It, developed by Elmer Brooks. It was originally published in the 90s, I think 92 maybe. Then it was out of print for a good long while, and then recently Hewitt Learning has brought it back into publication. I'm so thankful for that because I looked high and low for this program when I heard about it. Could not find a copy anywhere on eBay or otherwise, and it was a struggle. I tried to kind of create my own based on what I knew about this program, but I didn't fully understand the method, so my version did not work. So I ended up, when I found out Hewitt Learning was doing a pre-publication version of this, I ended up going ahead and getting that, and I'm so glad that I did because it really worked in a way that no other math facts learning method has worked for us. So I'm just going to dive right into this. This is what comes with I would say this is the intermediate method. There is a pre-method that works with dominoes and teaching children how to subitize, meaning knowing an amount without physically counting. It works on that kind of number sense area. Then this focuses on adding, multiplication, and doubling and halving things. And then the advanced method is fractions, decimals, and percents, I believe. I don't have the pre-method or advanced method, but this was the one that we've used and it has worked wonders with us. So here's what it comes with in the original method. Each game comes with a game board, their cards, an instruction sheet, and then an envelope to contain the cards. You see those here. And then it also comes with this handy little booklet that tells you how to play the game, add it, times it, and double it. And it shows you exactly how to set up your cards. And it gives a little background about how Elmer Brooks developed this program. I will also link below a podcast where they talked about how he developed this program. I found that extremely helpful in my decision to purchase this because I was still on the fence. I didn't quite understand the method just from what I was hearing and finding on the internet. So really until I heard this podcast did I really understand why this might work for us. Okay, so it tells you how to set up the cards, and I'm going to show you how to play in just a second. It kind of gives you some tips and tricks in here, and it also tells you, if I can get to it here, when to stop and when to go on. So a lot of times it's telling you, let me get to the next portion. It'll tell you before you go from add it to double it, you need to master this and be able to do this entire game in about a minute's time without feeling stressed or rushed. So I think it's helpful that it kind of paced you out in here. And I'll say another thing about this as well, about this book. There are some techniques in here and methods that we did not use. We played the games exactly as described, but because we already had kind of mastered the traditional way of adding and subtracting and carrying and borrowing and all those things, I didn't feel that it was going to be helpful for us to learn this new way of doing it. But I will say if you have a very creative, out-of-the-box thinker or a child maybe that is not mathematically inclined, those little tips and tricks later on in the book may really help you. I didn't feel like that would be conducive to clarity in understanding math facts because we'd already learned a method for adding that we liked and subtracting and so on. So just wanted to say there are some things in here we did not do, but the book maps it out really well for anybody that wanted to try this from start to finish. If you perhaps did pre-math at first and then you did this might make a lot more sense. But since we just dove straight into here, trying to get a way to really solidify math fact fluency for one of my children in particular, this was really the key ticket for us. This also comes with MP3 recordings of Elmer Brooks himself talking through how you play the games and some little tips and tricks. I did this with my more mathematically minded child, and I did this with my not as mathematically minded child. I have one that's more of a wordsmith person, and the other one is more of a engineering, science, math kind of person. And so the one that did not have any trouble with math did not like this program. So I want to say that as a little caveat. And I think it's simply because she had already learned her math facts the traditional way. But if you have a child who does not learn their math facts easily or has trouble retaining them, this might be of a benefit to them, and I'll show you why. Let me go ahead and get out the game pieces and we'll show you how you play this. So in the MP3 recordings that Elmer Brooks did, he walks you through how to play this step by step. And so for the first couple times that we played this, we just played that MP3 and followed exactly what he said as far as what order to do things and how to think of things and some of the tricks and tips that he includes in those MP3s. So When we first started, we did that a few times until we got the hang of it, and then we just started doing it on our own. So the 9's facts are in green. On the back, and he even says in the MP3, if you can't remember when you're playing this game, simply tip it up towards your nose and there's the answer. So he doesn't make it a shameful thing to not remember a math fact and not need to look for the answer, because I have learned this in my many years of teaching children, and how I learn myself. Forgetting sometimes is a part of learning, and we have to relearn. That happens to us even as adults. So I would really encourage you to not stress about a child maybe needing to look at the answer or not remembering math facts when it's used, differently than what they're used to. Don't stress about that, because that is a natural part of learning. So let's just say we'll start with the 9s. So his tip for the 9s is that you look at the number that 9 is being added to, think about one less than that number, so 3, and add a teen. So if I do that, 1 less than 4 is 3, add a teen, it's 13. And then you go through the rest of these and you do that procedure over and over. 1 from 7 is 6, add a teen, that's 16. 9 plus 7 is 16. And you do that all throughout. Then you would play the entire set of 9s. And we did this, when we did it a whole day of just the 9s. 9s over and over, just getting really comfortable with the 9s and putting those numbers before our eyes over and over and over. Then he has you, after you've mastered the 9s, he has you move on to the 8s. And the way that he teaches it is, instead of when you had a 9 up here, you took 1 away, now you're going to take 1 away from 3 to get 2, and 1 more away from 2 to get 1, and then add your teen. So it's just a little helpful trick that he's providing for them. This one you would say, take 1 away from 6 to get 5, take 1 away from 5 to get 4, add a teen. And this is really just helping that child that maybe has trouble organizing information in their head, or maybe needs a visual and a kinesthetic component at the same time to be able to really solidify that information. So you would do all the 8s after you did the 9s, and then you do doubles. Now, this is a funny thing to me about both my children. Both my children have always loved doubles facts. They've never had any trouble remembering doubles facts. And I would think those would be hard, but anyways, I don't know, they must like them. So the doubles facts was something that my more math phobic child was still good at. So this was a more fun part of this game. And there's no trick for that. He just has them say, 6 plus 6 is 12, 4 plus 4 is 8. I'm just going to lay the rest of these down because I'm going to show you how they work with the next bit. So your child would just learn from placing, and if they need to look, they flip it over towards their nose, and there's the answer. So once you have your doubles facts set up, then come what he calls the neighbor numbers. So these are numbers that are next to each other on the number line, and you use your doubles facts to help you deduce those. Now, this was a method that we tried for many years, and it just was not sticking with my more math phobic child. So for some reason, the visual of this and physically putting it there really seemed to solidify that in that child's mind. So because 6 plus 6 is 12, 7 plus 6 is only 1 more than that, or because 7 plus 7 is 14, 7 plus 6 is 1 less than that. They can use either one of those methods to figure out where that red card should go. The color coding also seemed to be a really key factor in remembering for my child. This particular student is very into colors. They have in their mind certain numbers or certain colors, certain states or certain colors. And I find that really fascinating. And we've explored that some just to figure out what's that about. It's very interesting. So I think that maybe some of our more creative minded, out of the box children have a little bit different way of thinking, and we need to work with that instead of against that. And I really think the color coding in this helps that tremendously. So I'm going to go ahead and place the rest of these where they belong, and you can see that for them visually, they are seeing, here are the facts in between the doubles facts. Here are the doubles facts on either side of a neighbor number fact. So I found that to be extremely helpful for him. And then the last bit are ones that they're going to keep this on the board, and they're going to figure out, okay, well, 5 plus 4 is 9, but also 6 plus 3 is 9. And 7 plus 6 is 13, so 7 plus 5 must be 1 less than that. Because you worked with them up here in the 9s and 8s about taking 1 away and adding a teen, taking 1 away, taking another 1 away, they're sort of reorganizing those methods in their mind to help them when they approach these yellow cards. We've always referred to these as number bond facts. 6 plus 4 and 7 plus 3, they both equal 10. So we just continue calling them that in this, and then you can tell 7 plus 5 is 12. 7 plus 4 must be one less than that, sorry. And then if 5 plus 4 is 9, 5 plus 3 is one less than that. And so each card is leading them to the next fact and helping them determine what those answers will be. So that is addit. And the idea behind it, there is no such thing as subtract it, because the idea is that after they learn these facts cold and they've got them in about a minute's time before you move on to double it and times it, you could talk about how if 5 plus 3 is 8, then 8 take away 3 is 5, and 8 take away 5 is 3. You could talk about fact families and things like that. He doesn't recommend that. He seems to think that subtraction would be intuitive, and he gives some tips in the book about how to handle subtraction without having a game board, but that didn't deter us. It worked just fine for us to just learn the addit facts and then go back and look at sort of the fact families and how that works in reverse for subtraction. So let me show you double it next. All right, so next up is double it, and you don't play this until you have mastered addit and are able to do those math facts in about a minute's time, which really you can learn that quite fast if a child is motivated, and if they feel like they're starting to make connections and understand more, they will learn it a lot quicker. So once you've got addit down to about a minute's time, you can do it accurately in a minute without rushing or feeling stressed, then you move up to double it. Now, I wanted to mention too, each pack of cards comes with extra blank cards in case something happens to the ones that you have. That would really help you make another one, and then you wouldn't feel stressed. And the reason the little slant is here is because that tells a child who is maybe dealing with some spatial issues which way to place the cards, especially if they were a lot younger than the children I was working with. So he really thought of everything when he was making this, as far as how some children think, or how some children need something presented to learn it. Okay, so on the one side, it's got the double. Double 3 would be 6. But if you flip it over, it's got half of 6 is 3. So this is the same answer. Double 3 is 6, half of 6 is 3. And after you learn double it, you flip it over and you do half it. Oh, sorry, I did this wrong. This is the half it side. So you start out, use side of cards that say double on each one. So double 3 is 6, double 2 is 4, double 4 is 8. And you just work through that slowly at your child's pace, just laying one at a time. If they don't know, flip it over and go, oh, that big number is my answer. So double 2 is 4. And if they know their doubles facts really well from addit, this is way easier for them. So that's why he has you master addit first. Then you flip it over and you do half of 4 is 2. Half of 8 is 4. And you work on the halves. And you do that back and forth again until you can get it into about a minute's time, either side. So when we were doing this, some days, once we mastered addit, some days I was throwing addit back in there. He was practicing that for a minute. Then we did more practice with doublet, and we just kept building on like that. We did this over a summer, by the way. So we didn't have any other subjects going on. That really helped us as well, because we could just focus on the math facts. So we spent a whole summer doing this. And then I also still get this out every once in a while if there seems to be not enough room in someone's brain to process new information plus our old facts. Sometimes we do this first, we play this first, and then we do our math lesson. And that has really helped, because I think it kind of ignites that part of the brain that is working on math. And maybe if you have a child that doesn't enjoy math, it kind of ignites that part of their brain so that they're like in the zone to focus on these next bigger skills. By starting with something like this. So you play this until you have it down for a minute. You can play the double side, then you can play the half side, and you can also, you can mix these cards up. You can start them out in order and just go down the line, and then as they get better at it, you can shuffle these up and then play it, with a little more variety. Okay, so when you're playing times it, just like with addit, they have a particular order that they want you to group these math facts in, and I highly recommend the first few times that you play this, making sure that you do the order exactly as they say. It seems to organize the information in the child's brain a little bit better and make it stick. And I'm sure there is reasoning behind that is in the book that I just am drawing a blank on at this moment, but there is a purpose behind the color of the cards and the order of the cards. So when he's teaching nines, he talks about how whatever number you are multiplying by 9, I'll use this as an example. If you're multiplying 8 by 9, you go down 1 from 8, which would be 7. Then you add whatever number to that 7 that would make a 9. In this case, 2 plus 7 is 9. 7 plus 2 is 9. I do it the right order. And so the answer would be 72. Okay, and then you would just leave that there. You would do the same thing here. 1 down from 7. Remember, they've been practicing this in addit, so going down 1 from a number should be kind of natural to them at this point. 1 down from 7 is 6. Add the number to it that would make a 9, that would be 3. 7 times 9 is 63. And so then you play all the 9s several times, just working through that process of take 1 away from the number that's being multiplied by 9, add whatever number you would need to make a 9 to that, and that is how you get your answer. Now, I will add this caveat in here too. If your child has traditionally memorized their times tables in a traditional manner and their subtraction tables, addition and division, this might not be for you. This might actually confuse them. That's what I found with my student that learned theirs the traditional way and it stuck. But for my creative out-of-the-box thinker who needed something just a little bit different, this really worked well. It organized information in a way that he could really handle, grasp, and retain. So this is another one we come back to frequently. Like I said, we did this over a summer when we were really trying to get those math facts in there, but we still revisit this once in a while. So after you go through all your 9s, he has you move up to the blue cards, I believe. Let me check my book here. Yeah, blue is next, because this is the 5s, and there's a trick with the 5s, and that's why he's got them organized like this. So for 5 times an even number, you can cut that number in half and add a 0. And remember, prior to this, they did a lot of practice with halves and doubles in doublet. So you can see how the skills are built kind of incrementally from one game to the next. And there's no writing in this. That's another key issue. If you have a child that maybe has a hard time with pencil grasp, or they just physically don't like writing, their hand gets tired or whatnot, you can remove the writing component of math and still be practicing your math facts. So I found that that was a very beneficial portion of this too, that there was no writing. This is just simply learning the facts, getting this information organized in your mind in a way that makes sense to you. So for instance, like I said, 8 times 5 is 40, because half of 8 is 4. You add a 0 and it's 40. And then half of 6 is 3, add a 0, it's 30. We do all of the even ones. And then half of 4 is 2, add a 0, it's 20. And then my son thought this was so funny and he enjoyed this little quip, but in the MP3, Elmer Brooks says, everybody knows that 3 nickels is 15 cents, and that's how he teaches 3 times 5 is 15. So that you may want to use a different method, but that's just how he introduces it in the MP3 that comes with this. And then you can tell from looking, if 6 times 5 is 30, you're going up to another number. It can't be 32, it's 35. And you also will notice that the number is the same color as the card. So as they're placing these, it gives them a little idea, but they're still having to work through the computation part. If it's blue, it's going to have a blue card on it. The only one that is not, or 2, that's not the case is 36 is in 2 different groups of multiplication tables, and then 49 is your 7 times 7, and notice it's black. So if I was going to continue with this, another thing he shows is 3 times 3 is very easy for a child to understand that that's 9. That's one of the first math facts my kids learned. So I think that's pretty standard, that's one that just kind of sticks in the kid's mind. And then he just moves on down through the red cards and then does the orange cards next. And I will say this, I can't remember if we learned this trick in here or through the multiplication boot camp we did through Sums of Anarchy, which is another great math resource I could maybe talk about at another time. But we learned that when you multiply by 4, there will be no trouble. All you have to do is double double. So if you have worked on doublet and you've really mastered that, then this is an easy trick to do that. And I can't remember if he shares that in here as well. Sorry for not knowing that ahead of time, but we do a lot of different things for math around here, and sometimes it gets a little mixed up about where the trick came from. But if you use that trick here, you double the 4 to get 8, you double 8 to get 16. And if they've been practicing doubling, then that's a breeze for them. Same for all of these. The other thing too is for the 8s, the other trick that we learned through Sons of Anarchy is with an 8 you can double, double, double. So I'm really gonna make myself do math on YouTube. Here goes. Okay, you double 7 to get 14, you double 14 to get 28, you double 28 to get 56, and that's your answer. The other trick we learned about this is a dancer's favorite multiplication, a 5, 6, 7, 8. I thought that was cute. That is not from Math It, but we learned a bunch of tricks along the way, and so we were able to incorporate that into these as we did it. So don't be afraid to mix methods in that sense. My philosophy of homeschool is you use whatever works. So for us, this was extremely helpful in really solidifying those math concepts for him, or math facts, so that we can move on to math concepts. He's actually really good at fractions, so I don't know if we're going to be doing the advanced math or not. We may need it at some point, but right now I'm just really happy with how this has worked out. Again, like I said, if you have a child who traditional methods have not worked for, this might really benefit them because it's giving them a couple of things. It's giving them kinesthetic movement. They don't have to write. Sometimes I know writing's helpful. If you write down a fact, it does solidify it in your mind, but for some children, that's actually a deterrent. They shut down if they have to write. I just know this from many years of teaching, especially language arts. I had a lot of kids that would shut down if they physically had to write, but if they can tell you orally and you write it down for them, then you're still assessing that they know the concept, but they're not shutting down and creating a wall to learning simply because they don't want to write. And that's just part of working with children with immature thought processes, and as they get older, they will outgrow that, and it's not something that needs to be causing strain in your relationship with your child as you're teaching them or anything like that. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this, I will link below the podcast about kind of the method behind this and the ideology behind how this Math It program works, and then also where you can purchase it from Hewitt Learning. And I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.